So hi there, you're coming on, you're leaving the waiting room. And if you would open your cameras, but keep yourself muted, I'd love to meet some of you. So I'm going to start here with Susan. Unmute, Susan, and tell me where you're from.
I am from Joplin, Missouri.
All right.
And I am a reading specialist.
Excellent. We are thrilled to have you. Susan, watch for some of the recommended books. I think they would be very useful in your work. And Victoria, can you unmute?
Hi, I'm Vicki Cox, and I am from Central Illinois. I am an instructional coach at a middle school.
All right. You know, almost all of my work is on interventions for middle school readers. Rewards, rewards plus, rewards writing, rewards. Yes.
We have them all.
You have them all. And my, you know, just talked recently, they're going to come out with the practice guides, which we all follow out of the Institute of Educational Science. Practice guides, they're coming out one on adolescent intervention. So you got to keep your eye open for that. And I only know that because they found that rewards was the consistent winner of making a difference with students. So yay, I was very pleased. All right, nice to meet you, Victoria.
You too.
And Lynn, can you open up? Hi, Lynn. Would see if you can open up your unmute. So all of you get ready to unmute. So when I come to you, you're all set.
Hi.
Hi, Lynn. And where are you from?
I'm from Stoneham, Massachusetts, just north of Boston.
Absolutely. What a beautiful place to be this time of year and in the fall. Excellent. And what is your role, Lynn?
I'm a speech language pathologist.
All right.
And
So
really like working with dyslexic kids.
So what I'm doing tonight is a reflection of a presentation I just made for New Jersey Speech and Language Association on sentences. So we're very glad to have you with us, Lynn. And Therese, is that from the Saint? Therese?
Yes.
You have the same spelling.
Yeah. Oh, yes. My name is Therese Maurer. I am a principal in a K-3 building.
In a K-3 building.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just today I read an article that is important for a principal in K-3. So I get this journal, just arrived today, Scientific Studies of Reading. Okay. And the last article in this journal is by Anita Archer, who's sort of the primary person in word level reading. And here is the conclusion of this study. It's really an important study for your K-1-2. So they did word level blending of words. And in one group, they did individual sounds. The students looked at the words and the teacher said, yes, that's now say the word. So they segmented the sounds and blended it together. And the second condition, they used a stream of blending. So if the word was, let's say man, man, and they taught the students not to stop between the sounds. And there was significant difference in their attainment of early blending, favoring the stream and the continuous blending, not the segmented blending. So that for all of us in reading is a very important study, because many of the programs that are coming out do segment the sounds, then blend them together. Man. No, man. What word? Man. Okay, that's my gift to you. And you're not a sister, but I have a good friend who is Sister Mary Therese. I didn't know that.
I'm in good
All right. And so Michelle, Madam Morris, I might have
Madam.
Say it again, honey.
Matamoros.
Matamoros. Okay. And where are you, Michelle?
I am actually in Tegucigalpa, Honduras.
Ooh. In Honduras. Well, we welcome you.
Thank you. Yes. I'm working at an international school here as a special ed program for an international school. So I coordinate elementary.
Isn't it a delight to have you with us? Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. And, thank you for having us.
Christy Cruz, can you open up? Hi, Christy.
So come and take a look at this lady.
There, you're perfect. Hi. And where are you from, Christy?
I am from York, Pennsylvania. I'm a reading specialist K through 3.
Excellent. So I presume you go to all the patent conferences?
Yes.
You have, you know, Pennsylvania has some of the best at your State Department, the best people in reading. And so they have taken letters all over your state. But I keynoted patent for the last 7 years, the end note, always the last one. So, and I will be there in 2022 in person, maybe. Okay.
Looking forward to it.
Yes.
Can't wait.
But you know, Christy, it's so good to be in a state that has science on their side in reading. Very definitely have science. It's a delight. And Katie, I think we still have, yes, we have a moment. Katie, can you open up and introduce yourself?
Hi,
Hi,
I'm Katie Catalani, and I am in Pensacola, Florida.
you are in Pensacola, Florida. So you have the Florida Reading Center for you to be proud of. Very.
Yeah, we definitely love that.
Well,
And
you
I
know,
am doing instructional coaching this year, but I'm going to be doing more RTI, support next year. So
all right. So intervention.
I
Yeah.
guess so. I'm not sure.
Right.
We're
right.
not sure what my role is going to be next year. I've been in the class 27 years, and so this is my first year out, and I've really enjoyed the challenge, the learning of all this. I'm excited to kind of help next year with RTI and yes, kind of
All
intervention.
right.
Please, thank
Well,
you.
do well, Katie.
Thank you.
And so Caitlin. Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Mathis. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Caitlin.
I'm from Rockland County, New York, but I teach in the Bronx, and I'm a first
Oh.
grade teacher for special ed and ICT.
So have I ever met you? Because I spend a lot of time in New York City.
No, I've been
Oh.
teaching down there 7 years, but I've never seen you. I just got into reading and everything.
Well, yes, I worked a great deal in New York City. In fact, right before the pandemic, I was in New York City for 2 weeks, and I got very ill and had to come back to Oregon, where I am, Portland, Oregon, and was sick for about almost 3 weeks, very ill.
Oh,
So I
wow.
don't know if I got to share in COVID because they couldn't diagnose it at that time. So, but I look forward to New York. I had an apartment there for 5 years on a federal grant. So the federal grant, New York got the grant. They gave it to New York City, and they used the programs I wrote for middle school rewards and rewards plus and rewards writing. So I'm thrilled to have you here. Yes. Okay, one more, Dallas. And Dallas, tell us where you're from. And you're not from Dallas.
I'm not. No, I am in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Little Rock.
Yes,
Excellent.
ma'am.
And what do you do in Little Rock?
I am a RISE specialist. RISE is our initiative for the science of reading. And so I'm a specialist. I go into the schools around the state and help teachers implement the science of reading into their literacy classrooms.
Terrific. That's what we're all doing, is being certain that we have the science of reading. Reading is a civil right. Everybody should be able to read at their highest level possible. It takes all of us. Look at all the states that we have already introduced here, and one country, Michelle,
Yes.
from Honduras. But it is an absolute necessity. And, you know, particularly when we look at our society today, because if I was just doing a webinar on adolescent reading and saying, you know, those adolescents are going to have to read more, write more, and speak more than ever in our working history, ever. And so it is even now more imperative that we do as much as we can. Well, I can tell that I need to have us begin. So I am going to have you be certain that you can leave your cameras on. We'll at the end during the question and answer, we'll put you all on the screen again. But let's see here. I guess, Tiffany?
Yes.
Your slides do not appear to be up yet.
Let me see if I can do that. Oh, here we go.
Okay. So thanks for letting me meet some of you. I wish I could meet all of you. Hi, Tiffany.
Hello. We are so thankful to have Dr. Archer this evening. We thought it would be fun to do a quick poll since she is sharing about writing at the sentence level with us tonight. We won't spend too much time on this and we can look at the results closer to the end even. So our question is, what are the most challenging aspects of writing? So just thinking about that, you can either scan this QR code or in the chat, I'll put it in again. There is a link you can just click on and it'll have you go ahead and type in a word or a few words, and it's going to create a word cloud for us so we can see, you know, what most people are kind of thinking is most.
Can't wait to see it.
I'm excited too. Let me put that in the chat again if you can't find it. Sorry.
It is fun to have 217 people from all over the country. I was waiting to find someone from Wichita, Kansas, or Kansas, because this is sponsored by a group in Kansas. But that's the way, you know, we're going to always have this communication vehicle that we've gotten so good at, that we could have these kind of meetings that just pull people who are interested in the topic. It's really fascinating. I find it wonderful. Okay, Tiffany, did you have anything else we needed to know?
So we're going to go ahead and we created some group norms for our meeting. So we're just kind of learning as we go with our events. And I know Dr. Archer just said, please stay muted during the presentation, but if you do have questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. And we are going to try our best to have question and answer at the end, but I know she's probably very gracious and could get back to us with questions that you have as well, and we could answer those through the group at a later time if needed as well. And then to be respectful of everyone's time, especially at the end of this school year, I'm sure you're all very busy. We will try to promptly end around 8 o'clock so that we're respectful of each other's time.
8 o'clock Central.
8 o'clock Central, I'm sorry, yes.
No, that's okay, because we've got people here, it's going to be 9 o'clock, and Honduras, I'd have to look up what that's going to be.
That's
hey, excellent. So Tiffany, you are going to be the person who watches the questions, or Gina or Renee. So 5 minutes beforehand, if I haven't stopped for question and answer, you're to step up and say, Archer, question and answer.
Perfect.
All right. So if you could remove yours and allow me to put up my screen, but I bet you wanted to introduce these people, didn't you?
I was just going to say, this is our group admin team. So I'm Tiffany Seaman, and I'm one of the admins along with these two wonderful ladies, Gina and Renee, who I have found out are old friends of Dr. Archer, as they were able to work with her in the Wichita public school system. So we're very happy to have her. And then I was going to do a quick introduction of Dr. Archer, but you can feel free, Dr. Archer, to add anything that you would like to as well.
Go right ahead. Except I now have longer COVID hair.
I think we all have been there. So our amazing guest speaker this evening, Dr. Archer, is an educational consultant to school districts on explicit instruction, the design and delivery of instruction, behavior management, and literacy instruction. She has taught elementary and middle school students and is the recipient of 10 awards honoring her excellence in teaching and contributions to the field of education. Dr. Archer has served on the faculties of San Diego State University, the University of Washington in Seattle, and the University of Oregon in Eugene. She is nationally known for her professional development activities, having presented in every state over the course of her 50-plus-year career. It's amazing.
54 years, as of this year.
Is co-author with Dr. Mary Gleason of numerous curriculum materials addressing reading, writing, and study skills. And I know she's going to share great resources tonight as well. She was raised in the Pacific Northwest, and her primary home is Portland, Oregon, where she enjoys entertaining friends, attending symphony and opera performances, and practicing her cello. That is
So the only thing in that list I've been able to do during the pandemic is practice the cello. And I'm still a definite beginner. But anyway,
I love it.
yeah.
We are
All
so
right.
honored to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. I can't think of a better way to spend my evening than with this group of very dedicated educators. So let me just pull up my screen. Now, I believe that 2 PowerPoints were put in your chat box for you to have access to. True, Tiffany?
I will do that.
Or do you have another way that they are to access it?
I can do that right here, and then I can put them on our group page as well. So
The group page is also, so there's 2, because I did a 3-hour or maybe longer presentation for New Jersey, big mistake, New Jersey, speech and language on April 30th. And so I drew from that. But this is the short version where I took out a lot of slides, but thought you might want all of them to use with your students or just to see the extension of the knowledge I'm going to talk about. So let me just tell you where I became interested in sentences. And we have a person from the Bronx, and it was when I did a study for the state of New York on adolescent literacy. And one of the things that we were teaching the students was how to write an essay that had an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. And we were able to teach them in the introduction, give background knowledge, capture their interest, state your claim, list the reasons. And then we taught them every paragraph in the body should have a reason and details, reason and details, reason and details, and you should have a conclusion that wraps it up. And we were able to teach that to middle school students. They all got down how to have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. But when we were done, we looked at the quality of the writing, and the quality of the writing was poor because of the sentences. And so then we began being interested in developing materials to teach sentences. But now here we have a group of people all interested in helping the students writing. Some of you are in the primary grades, like a principal is on. We could celebrate a principal, yay. That we have people who work with intermediate general ed students, and we have people that work in intervention across the grades. So what I want to share with you is over the course of my career, I've had a chance to work with different populations on sentences. And I do believe that we should think about one sentence at a time with our students, because every one of the states represented here, when you look at their standards focus on longer essays, longer products. They can write a narrative, they can write an argument, they can write informational text. And that is shown from state to state to state. The challenge there is the foundation of good writing is a sentence. And so we're going to look at different ways that you could look at sentences. And so that's me. My website has little vignettes of me teaching different skills to different kids that might be of use to you. So in this short period of time, we're going to look at activities that would strengthen students' sentence writing. I like sentence writing also because many of our children find writing quite difficult. You announced we're going to write this, and particularly in middle school, you get, ew. And that's because we've not required enough writing. We've not requested enough writing. And so we need to focus on writing often. So one of my mottos is short writing often, not just long writing seldom. Short writing often, not just long writing seldom. So we're going to look at that. And we're going to particularly look at the research validated practices to improve sentence writing that then improves the longer essays that I'm writing. One is sentence expansion, where we add to a stem sentence and maybe add a when, a where, a why, a how. or sentence combining, where we have a number of sentences that we put together in a more sophisticated sentence. And also looking at the use of sentence frames to scaffold writing. And we have time, we're going to have like a little bonus, because you are interested in some other things where sentences make all the difference. For example, if we look at improving fluency and having students move away from robotic reading and to make it more matched to normal speech, then the sentence becomes the workplace for that. Also, if you want to improve comprehension, then let's start with getting comprehension at the sentence level, where after reading a sentence that we pulled from whatever the kids are reading, and we ask them, so who or what is mentioned in this sentence? What is the action that was taken? When did it happen? That kind of examination can be done at the sentence level. Now, we do have a short period of time, and I'm a teacher who wants to be sure people learn things. And I know that if I was teaching your children online or in person, that we need lots of active participation. So don't think you're going to just spend this hour not participating. I don't care the fact that it is at this very moment. Let's see, 5:15 here on the East Coast, that's 8:15, but you're going to participate. Because the recent research done on active participation shows that the more overt the responses, the more learning that occurs, particularly in intervention. So when we just have students think of something, that is not as good as write it down, tell it to your partner, say it to yourself out loud. I've been having children talking to their masks, preparing their answers. Very cool. So one, you need a piece of paper because you're going to write. And at the top of it, I want you to write down, got my yellow tablets here. I go through hundreds of them every week. Write best practices. And if there is a practice that you say, oh, I want to remember this, I'm going to check the longer PowerPoint to get more information on this. So you'll be writing. And sometimes we will read together. And you'll be muted, but still should be talking out loud. And sometimes we will chorally read, muted. Sometimes you're going to make short answers, so have paper available. And sometimes you're going to put short answers in the chat box, but we had more people than I expected, so we may not do that. And at the end, you're going to put your very best practice in the chat box, what you thought was something that you could take with you. And then we'll have questions and answers that you're going to put the questions in the chat box, and those team of administrators will greet them. Why focus on sentences? Well, basically, sentences are the foundation of all written products. It's just like we focus on letter sounds so that students can decode words with those sounds. That is the foundation. And sentences are the foundation of all written products. And basically, what we found out was if the sentences are weak, then the composition will be weak. No doubt about it. And basically, there is a difference between conversational English and formal written English. And so we want to have students have lots of experience writing. And writing. You know, my motto this year in all the grants I'm working with across our country is this: every day in every class, students need to read, write, and speak. Every day in every class, students need to read and write and speak. Every day in every class, they need to read, not just have the teacher read, but read. They need to write, and it could be short, it could be just a sentence, and they need to speak to the class, speak to their partner, speak to themselves. Every day in every class, if we want to really see gains in literacy, they need to read, write, and speak. Well, there are many approaches to sentence development, really depending on the reading skills of the students that might be utilized in the sentence development. So we're going to look at sentence dictation. If you teach spelling, you could dictate in every spelling lesson a sentence, and in that you could include a systematic review of any grammatical elements or punctuation, capitalization that you've taught. We're going to look at some work I did with summer schools, where we taught students to write sentences with patterns following a specific sequence. And some of you could just, like with the long PowerPoint, you could just pluck all of the things we found in that study to see if you could utilize it with your own students that were leaving first grade or in second or early third grade. And then I'm going to take you to my favorite book. If you don't have it, I did not write it, but it is a brilliant book called The Writing Revolution. And they have sentence activities that could be used in any content area and would improve students' writing overall. And then we're going to look at the two that my colleagues, Dr. Mary Gleason and Steve Isaacson, put in the materials we wrote about sentences: sentence expansion, where we have a stem and we expand on it, and sentence combining. These are the two activities that have the best research for improving writing. All right, that's what we're going to look at. And then if we have time, use of sentence frames that are generic, but also ones in the moment. Oh, that's a lot to cover. Darn it all, we might have to have a second session, but we will cover as much as we can. So let's leap on this. First of all of these behaviors are how to do something. And we know exactly, if I'm teaching kids how to sound out words, how to figure out the meaning of an unknown word, how to write a sentence, that is going to take demonstration, and then guiding them and doing it, and scaffolding and supporting them, and then having them do it on their own, where we check understanding. So anybody who knows my work knows that this was something I coined long ago, 1974, in a chapter on instruction. The concept of demonstration, I do it. Guided practice, we do it. And checking understanding, you do it. All of you who come on this evening have used this strategy in teaching students how to do something. All right, well, let's look at sentence dictation. Now, I'm going to spend just a little time on this. It says a video, and that's how I'm going to get it short, because we're going to post the video. We can do that, right, Tiffany? Maybe. Put it on your materials. I think we can. So, because we can't watch it right now, too much time, but it's a lesson where I'm teaching spelling. And the thing we know about spelling practice is the importance of dictation. In fact, I haven't found any practice activity that beat sentence dictation. So if I want you to be a better speller, the best practice is I'm going to dictate. And I could dictate words, where I say the word, I say it in a sentence, and repeat. The students repeat it. Then I have them segment the word. So if the word is mat, I have them put their fingers up. You can do segmenting however you want. What's the first sound? What's the second sound? Ah. What's the next sound? T. And what's the word? Mat. And then I'd have them write it. If it was a multisyllabic word, like misunderstanding, then we would segment it into the syllables, and then the students write it with that scaffolding in mind. They say the sounds to themselves as they write the corresponding letters, or they say the syllables to themselves, the oral syllables, as they write those syllables. Now, here's the most important big idea on word dictation, and that is you need to give feedback that shows them the word. You do not want to just orally spell it, because you cannot take those oral spellings and get a picture of the actual written word. I mean, how many times have you asked a person, how do you spell this? And you tell them the word, and they spell it orally for you. And then you say, well, now we'll try that again. What was that? And then finally you say, write it down. So the big idea on feedback for spelling, any spelling, even as you monitor and move around the room and a student asks you to spell a word, you're going to write it down. You could orally spell it with them, but you will never just give them the oral spelling. Now, this is where we usually end spelling dictation, but we could go one step further and dictate a sentence. And so as you watch that little video, you'll see that I dictated the sentence, they repeated the sentence, and then we broke it into shorter components because many times they can't hold the whole thing in working memory. We dictate one part, they write it, we dictate the other part and they write it, but then we give feedback. And again, what kind of feedback? Visual. Now, why would I promote this so much? Well, let us not forget the importance of spelling. Think how you use spelling every single day and how pathetic our student spelling is in middle school. So we want to teach spelling. And usually it goes totally with the decoding that we're teaching, particularly in the younger grades. I teach you words with AI and AY. I dictate words with AI and AY. And I give you a sentence that contains words with AI and AY. But here's the good thing about sentence dictation. It is a perfect opportunity to utilize any of the punctuation and capitalization that you've taught. Capital at the beginning. Maybe you've taught proper nouns that have to be capitalized. Maybe you've taught commas in a series and the sentence is designed to give them that instruction. So this is a perfect time to practice spelling and to practice the conventions of writing. Okay, next big idea. That one, you will get to watch a video of me teaching, and you'll notice it was quite a while ago because I'm actually using an overhead projector, which makes it so that you don't see this hair. No, but anyway. So the next one came from a summer school project that I did across numerous districts, and one portion was on teaching primary children sentence patterns. And this was drawn from Step Up to Writing. And so we did this for a period of time, actually 6 weeks, and then we looked at the quality of sentences they subsequently wrote, which significantly improved. So it's showing them patterns to a sentence, and you could make this your own, but here's how we did it. So we introduced a pattern of a sentence: who, action, what. And remember, these were in the first grade, second grade, and third grade students. Who, action, what. And we gave them an example. Who, my friends, the action, watched, and what is a movie. So we listed all the steps for you. So we introduced the sentence and discussed the parts: a who, an action, and a what. And we pointed out the 3 parts and the example sentences. And then step 2, they were to create alternative sentences using the same example. So they had a who, my friends, and watched, and then they had to add their own what. And they had to continue to do that. So their paper might look like this. This was the example we gave them. My friends watched a movie. And then they had, these are ones that students came up with. My friends watched zoo animals. My friends watched a small dog. My friends watched a video. My friends watched television. My friends watched squirrels. That's how I've spent most of COVID, looking out my window at my friendly new pets, which are squirrels. They need no care. Here, this is basically giving them a sentence stem, and then they have to complete it. So what do we do next? We had them reread and proofread their sentences. Now, I will tell you, we found it much better for them to read it out loud. Just like I've done when I write books, they read it out loud, touching each word, whisper reading so they didn't interfere with their neighbors, and then asking themselves, does it make sense? Now I want to emphasize this for a moment. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? If I was a teacher today in an elementary school, I would have a big sign up in my room, does it make sense? Because it appears to me many students are looking for doneness, not does it make sense? They sound out words and no English speakers ever said the word. They don't stop to say, well, does that sound like a word? Or they do an addition, column addition, and they get an answer and they don't stop and ask, does that answer make sense? I am now constantly telling students and asking them, does
Watching Anita Archer.
Did you have a question? Okay, good. All right, and then we had them check it for capitals and periods, and we had them then share their sentence with their partner. So they would read their sentences that they came up with, and their partner would be asking, does it make sense? And then they would say their sentence. We'd call on a number of kids to say it to the class. All right, so you've got down the big idea, and then we didn't leave that. Then another day we used the same pattern, who, action, what, but we gave them a different one. And these were just some of the possibilities. Max created a doghouse. Max created a paper airplane. Max created a oil painting. Max created. So they would do the same thing with same pattern, different sentence starters. All right, just every day we're just getting down these patterns, and we extended then. On subsequent days, we introduced new patterns, and they created alternative sentences using the sentence stem that we gave them each day. And they had to read and proofread, share it with their partner, and then continue sharing with the class. Same steps. So you just got all the ones we used. Who, action, where, and when, what, action, where. So this was, they then had to replace the when and the where. And what, action, how, where. Can you see how this would increase the actual sophistication of their sentences? But I'll never forget the work of Steve Graham, who's probably the premier researcher in the area of writing and written many books. But one thing he found was asking children to add details was one of the best ways to improve their writing. So that's what we're asking them to do. As they have a what, action, now they add a how, and they add a where. So we're teaching them to increase their sentences by answering these questions, thus adding more details. So I think some of you might say, oh, I could use that. I'm going to use that in my next few weeks of school with my students. And so you have the whole plan and you have the actual PowerPoints, and you can go from there. All right, I hope I'm not going to cover too much, but then we've got different ages here. And so next brings up my favorite recommended writing book. You'll never be disappointed if you have this in your library. Judith Hoffman has studied writing for an extended period of time with students that were in Tier 1 General Ed, as well as students with learning disabilities in special schools. And so all of her work has been field tested again and again. She does excellent training also. But the chapter that we're going to look at is the chapter she wrote on sentences. And what she did is has a sequence of activities that can be used in any classes. And it would then be able to teach students different aspects of writing sentences. It's very good. So I couldn't pull out all of the sentence activities. I just pulled out ones that you might say, woo, I like that, I can use it. But do get the book, it's excellent. And the second author, Wexler, actually wrote the book on the knowledge gap. And so they have now combined their energies from two different places. All right, now here's all of them in the chapter on sentences, but I'm going to be selective. And so one was distinguishing between sentences and fragments. Oh, that would be helpful. I could say that's a fragment and they would know what I mean. It's unscrambling scrambled sentences, one that focused on 4 sentence types, which you'll recognize. Developing questions, you can read about that on your own. Here's the favorite of the middle school kids I worked with, because, but, so. And using subordinating conjunctions. It's in the long handout, but not the short one. And using appositives. Oh, I do love appositives. So let's just look at some of these and maybe it'll wet your whistle. So you want to study up this summer on writing revolution. And the reason I also like it is, you know, you look at the research on writing, and writing is a very structured activity, and the parts of it that are very structured with defined steps need to be taught very explicitly. Now, there's some other aspects of writing, like the utilization of feelings in poetry that you would model, but they are not as systematic as how you write an essay, how you write an argument, how you write paragraphs, how you write sentences. So for those things that are heavily defined and thus could utilize explicit instruction, is one of the best books available for it. Okay, so get excited about these activities. Think where you might use them. Okay, and read this one with me and go. The activities are paired with teaching content to ensure students have something to write about. So all of her activities were done. They had read about this subject and they wrote in response to it. Because, and we certainly have seen this, all of us have, is sometimes we give a topic and expect the students to do it from their personal experience, but many of our students don't have rich personal experiences on which to write. And so she also thought this, that you're going to read something and you're going to respond to it in writing. And that writing response is going to increase your content knowledge because you're rehearsing it. It's going to increase your comprehension because it's in response to something you've read. And it's going to increase your writing skills, the big 3. So you're writing this sentence, content, comprehension, and writing. Lovely. That is making writing powerful in the student's education. All right. So all of these examples are ones that I've taught in demonstration lessons, either here in the United States or in Canada or in Australia, where I usually spend a month or 2 every year, but not COVID year. So one of them is unscrambling scrambled sentences. And you know, this has an old history. Ben Franklin, working in a print shop when he was a teen, used to get really good sentences and cut them up into the words, put them in an envelope, and then come later and try to reorganize them back into the sentence so that he could think about and organize more sophisticated sentences. But this also is very useful to teach students about the order of words in English, the syntax of English. So this is from a lesson I actually did teach in Australia. And the teachers in the beginning of 2nd grade when I was there wrote to me and said, we are reading different versions of the 3 Little Pigs. And we would like you to introduce another version of it and do writing in response to it. All right. So I said, perfect. So if you know Portland, Oregon, we have the largest independent bookstore in the United States, Pal's bookstore. It's where everybody goes pre-pandemic. And it's still open now, and it goes until 2 o'clock on Saturday night. It's, you know, if you're going on a date, you go to Pal's. But anyway, so I headed to Pal's. And I asked, do you have any versions of the 3 Little Pigs? And the moderator there said, yes, we have this one, this one, this one. So I said, well, what's the oldest one? She said, this one. Okay. And I said, okay, I'm going to sit down and see if I want to buy that one. It was one of the most violent stories that I had ever read. No, I mean, we're not talking about the wolf just falling down into the pot. We're having him fall down into the pot. He's boiled to death, and they ask all of the other pigs over to have a feast. No, I'm not taking that to Australia, but I found one that I could do. But afterwards, I worked with them on sentence unscrambling. So you're going to be my students. And so second graders, we are going to practice sentence writing, and I'm going to give you all the words, but they're all mixed up. And so we have to figure out what order we could put them in. My turn first, but will you read the words with me? And first word, first. Next word, the. Next word, built. Next word, next word, pig. Next word, house. Next word, straw. So my turn to figure out the order. Now, here we have a hint. It's going to start with the. And when we have the, we follow it with a noun, usually. And so I say to myself, it could be the pig, or it could be the house. Now I'm thinking this story was about a pig, so I'm going to think that the pig. And then the pig might have an action, and that could be this word. What is it? Built. The pig built. And what did the pig build? A house. Okay, the pig built a house. But I have two leftover words, so I say to myself, what word could I add here? Straw. Oh, I know. The pig built a straw house. Oh, good. All right, I have another word left over. First. The first pig built a straw house. The first pig built a straw house. That sounds perfect. Say it with me. The first pig built a straw house. And then we give them feedback. So I modeled it one time and two times. And then the next one, I guided them in doing it. And so this time, I am going to have Tiffany help me. So unmute Tiffany. And I could do this with a group, but I'd call on individuals after they thought of an answer. So Tiffany, let's do this one together. Let's first read the words, and we'll read them quickly this time, and read them with me and go. I need to hear you.
Right.
The pig sticks a house of second built. All right, and what word's going to be first? The. And the usually announces the word after. It's going to be a person, place, or thing. A what? A noun. A what? A noun. Okay, and you think it's going to be pig. The pig. Okay, and what is the action word here?
Built.
Built. Okay, the pig built. And the pig built what?
A house.
A house. The pig built a house. And we still have some words left. And of and sticks. So then they would whisper this to they would prepare, then whisper to their partner. And the pig built a house of sticks. One word left, and the word is what?
Second.
Second. I'd have them whisper to their partner their completed sentence. And can you say the sentence now? And go, Miss Tiffany.
The second pig built a house of sticks.
Excellent. Now, this is a more difficult thing than you would think. But do you think kids love it? Absolutely. But they need feedback. The second pig built a house of sticks. So we could do this with students. It might take a lot of we do it's to get them really good at it, but then they would. And think of all the things you can infuse in this. You could infuse a noun, you could infuse action words or verbs, you could infuse word order, you can infuse what comes after an article. Oh, it's just like so rich. And the kids like it too. So we would do, we do it, and then you do it. Okay, so tonight, later, take this out and do these 2 items on your own. But then I want you to say to yourself, oh my God, I need a life. Okay, all right. So this one is a perfect one and so simple. And I love it when something is high outcome, low prep, don't you? And so here you have taught a declarative or a statement. You could use either terms that you want, an interrogatory sentence or a question, imperative sentence or a command, an exclamatory sentence or an exclamation. So you have introduced examples of it. You've taught them like you would any concept. You'd introduce the meaning, you give examples, you check for understanding. But then look at the very thoughtful practice. So then let's just give an example. So one day I was teaching 4th grade wonders, and we had taught them a statement, a question, a command, and an exclamation. And every day for many, many weeks, we had this practice. So they had read The Moon Over Star. And what their job was to write a sentence that was a statement using the word spaceship from the article, and a question with the word astronauts, and command with the word flight, and exclamation with the word excited. Do you get the point here? This is low prep to add these words to this little chart. And here's one child's answers. And the spaceship carrying these 3 astronauts would land on the moon. Okay, it's a good statement. Who are the astronauts? A question. Command, take care on the flight. Or explanation, everyone was excited. But notice what we've done. They had to practice the content of the passage they had read. This required comprehension of what they read, and they had writing. 3 goals of all of Judith Hoffman's sentence activities are to review content, to have comprehension, and to have writing. I love this one because I can just have this on the screen and just replace the words. Yes. Okay, of all the ones that I have ever taught, you middle school people particularly will like this. And if you know Judith Hoffman's work, you know that because, but, so is a very big seller with our students. And so I've had students use this activity in many different ways. I'm looking, our time is going to go way too fast. I didn't like this. Okay. So because, but, so here the students are given a sentence stem, and then they have to add an explanation. The teacher was happy because the children listened carefully. So because tells why, but they have the same sentence stem. The teacher was happy, but the children wanted class to end. So you're going one direction and you turn it around and you go another direction. And the teacher was happy, so the teacher praised the children, giving a result. Same stem, same stem, same stem, but they have to add the ending. And we started by doing this orally. So this is another one we did, the dog barked because, and they added a sentence, the ending to that sentence stem. The dog barked but, the dog barked so, and continue that and with oral practice. And then we did written practice, more oral practice, and then written practice. But I want you to think about how useful this might be. So let's look at its use. After we've taught it, then again, going back to wonders, it just happens that I worked on this with wonders and in 4th grade, and they read about the aurora borealis. So they come into class the next day and they have this statement: the aurora borealis is an amazing light show because, or but, and so they're going to write 3 sentences. Again, we have content, comprehension, and writing. Can you see why even middle school kids would like this? I've used it in high school. It's totally adaptable to the content. Well, and this is just to show you, this is one I did in middle school. We read an article about the Panama Canal. And we again had because, but, so. This is one I did in Australia, where they were studying the British Empire, and I had Kenya Day. The next day they came in, and these are their answers by one student with because, but, so. Okay, one more I've taken out of Judith Hochman's book for you to then study it more, but the use of appositives. Okay, so I'm teaching 8th grade English. I would definitely teach them about appositives. If I taught high school seniors that were in an advanced placement class, I'd teach them about appositives. So this I dedicate to my favorite city besides Portland, Oregon, New York City, comma, the largest city in the United States, comma, is a major tourist attraction. So I can stuff in more information with an appositive. Can you see? That takes kids to a whole nother line, particularly for topic sentences of a paragraph. Appositives are winners. So remember I taught that lesson on Panama Canal, and the students had to add appositives: content, comprehension, writing. And then we wrote more because I was into it. And their teacher got into it. Okay, I told you there were two that had particularly good research: sentence expansion and sentence combining. And sentence expansion has very good research where the students add answers to questions like what, when, where, why, and how. So this is the way that we taught it in the program we wrote, which is Rewards Plus, and it is on sentence refinement, rewards sentence refinement. So we gave the kids a sentence stem and 3 questions, in this case, when, where, and why. And they were to write down a note. The children raced one spring day down the road to celebrate the last day of the school year, except the teachers are the one that really raced. But anyway, and then they have to take all of this and put it together. One spring day, comma, the children ran down the road to celebrate the last day of the school year. Hallelujah. It's been quite a school year. So you give them a short sentence stem, questions, they have to write down notes, and then they put it all together. Okay, and so this was also included in our materials, but also in Writing Revolution, where they had a stem like pyramids were built, and they had the questions when, where, and why. Ancient times, Egypt, protect the body of deceased pharaohs, and put it all together. So I love this one because, again, like this is from a 8th grade social studies class. We need short writing in social studies, and we could use this format. A sentence, then they have to write down details and put it all together. Okay, even in science, I just put in an article so that you could share this with your other colleagues. This is one a science teacher sent me because I didn't have any science ones. She said, oh, give them a sentence starter, ask questions where, when, and how, have them put it all together. All right. So we could do sentence expansion by answering questions like when did it happen? Where did it happen? Why did it happen? How did it happen? And so again, I knew I wasn't going to be able to tell you everything. So I'm going to see if we can post 2 little videos. This one is me teaching the program that Doctors Gleason and Isaacson wrote with me on improving sentences aimed at 5th through 8th graders. And so you'll get to look at it, but let me just go here. So sentence combining, actually, the problem with sentence combining is it takes much more preparation than sentence expansion or any of the other sentence activities. So that's why there's a number of programs out on sentence combining. One of them is one we wrote, but you could find another one. And here's what the students do. So that if I was modeling it, watch me do this item. And so Linda grabbed a seat. That's the start sentence. Bobby grabbed a seat. So I asked myself, what is new added Bobby? So I expanded to Linda and Bobby grabbed seats. The seats were adjoining. Oh, the new thing is adjoining. Linda and Bobby grabbed adjoining seats. The seats were on the bus. Linda and Bobby grabbed adjoining seats on the bus. The bus was crowded. Linda and Bobby grabbed adjoining seats on the crowded bus. Whew. See what the students are doing? Much better than I grabbed a seat, Bobby grabbed a seat, seats were adjoining, the kind of writing that many of our students do, putting it together in a more sophisticated, well-written sentence. All right, and so the same kind, this was an activity you can do tonight. So you read the sentence and then you ask, what's added? Thicker, what's added? Short, what's added? Warm, what's added? Protective. And you put it all together. As the cubs grow thicker fur, they spend short periods of time outside the warm protective den. Sentence combining has good research, all the way up until college. If you had an English class, that was a 101 English class in college. There are books, I have one right in my bathroom where I occasionally do items in it. So, and okay, now what else do I need to share with you? All of these are just examples of how you could take it right into content. So this is a day I taught high school sophomores, and they were reading The House on Mango Street. And the next day they came in and they were to read these vignettes. And so I gave them a sentence starter and then 3 sentences that they had to pull out what was new and combine it all in a sentence. This is the kind of activity our brains love, but we actually end up having the students do short writing every day in every class. They read, they write, they speak. Okay, sentence frames, generic, and ones related to a specific question. Generic or created by the student. Okay, sentence frames. So generic ones are ones that you might have on a card and you pull them up when the students could write in response to what they've read. So for example, I might have making predictions, and the card said, because the main character did this, I predict he or she will do this. So you have them all set to go as at first I thought this, now I believe this. Or since blank, I can assume that blank will blank. See how useful it would be to have them all ready to go. As you're reading a story, stopping and having kids write in response to it so that they could pick it up the next day in terms of their reading. Or compare and contrast. If you were to do one thing to increase higher order thinking, particularly if you follow the research by Marzano, it would be to do a lot of compare and contrast. How are they same? How are they different? How are they same? How are they different? And big idea. Another thing we can do in terms of helping kids with sentences is when we ask them a question, we can then give them a sentence stem and have them either say or write an answer from that sentence stem. So one day I was teaching distract in a middle school intervention, and we had the definition of distract. And then we had examples given of distract, or this, what would distract this horse? And then we had this question, what might distract the rider? Now, here's what kids would normally do. Well, maybe an animal on the course might distract them. Maybe a loud noise. Maybe another horse. Maybe a car going by. Maybe a rabbit right in front of the horse. But they have never said the word distract. That is the benefit again, of giving them a sentence starter and having them complete it. So that one, they have a complete sentence, and number two, they utilize academic language. Every time we ask a question, particularly with our struggling students, we should give them a sentence starter so that they will say a complete sentence or write a complete sentence and include the academic language. Well, now I'm going to go right up here to bonus for a moment and just say there's another thing we could do with sentences, and that is we could work on comprehension at the sentence level. I don't know if you have this book, but it's another one I would add to your repertoire, your library, the Reading Comprehension Blueprint. An excellent book for you to have, and they summarize sentence comprehension. But this is one that we've used in the past where we have a sentence, we display the sentence, we model reading it with prosody and expression. The students read the sentence, and then we ask them questions that are answered in the sentence so that they're really doing sentence-based comprehension. And so here I selected a sentence from a book that we had read. And notice that I have divided it into natural phrases. And we display it. Then I model reading it with expression. And so many of our students read like this. The wolf jumped back over the fence and ran straight to the public library. But we want to model, the wolf jumped back over the fence and ran straight to the public library. We want to model reading it with expression, which also improves their comprehension and their fluency because it is a natural rate of speech. But then we can read it together. So read it with me. The wolf jumped back over the fence and ran straight to the public library. Do that with your kids. But then we could ask questions on it. And so what word? Touch the word that this sentence is about. The who. I bet you're touching woof. Touch the action word. There's more than one, but touch the first action word of the woof. And the word is jumped, and jumped is a verb. So we can do questions, comprehension at the word level, at the sentence level. So what I wanted to do was give you an inroad. Oh, I already teach spelling. I could use dictation, including sentence dictation. I am teaching much, we're reading many materials. I might want to have sentences in response, things like because, but, so, unscrambling sentences. I might want to teach students the best research-based strategies, sentence expanding, sentence combining. But then I could also add looking at the sentence for expression or prosody and for comprehension. Now, we probably went over like 2 minutes, but I'm going to stop here. And if there are some important questions, Tiffany, we have a few minutes. Let's answer some of those questions.
Perfect. Let me grab what I have. Sorry. Oh, at the beginning,
Yes.
the name of the journal and article that you held up.
Ah, you mean the one that was written by Lene Airy?
Thank you.
So this is in Scientific Studies of Reading.
Perfect.
Okay, and the actually the first author of it is Gonzalez, Ganzalez Frey, Frey, and Lene Airy, Ehri. It was really an important study because right now I am revising a program that's on its 5th revision, phonics for reading, and we always did continuous stream of decoding. And we're just really now getting research to say, oh, good job, Archer. All right, do we have any other?
Is there a benefit to crossing out rather than erasing?
Oh, there is a big benefit in dictation to have them cross out. So if they, well, here's 2 things. You're going to give them visual feedback, and most kids want to erase just like one letter and fix it up. But that's not going to help subsequent spelling. Subsequent spelling, I need to have them do the sequence of the letters in a row. So we cross it out so that they can rewrite it right above it and show the comparison, but also because one letter leads to the next letter. It's a sequential skill. Yes.
Okay, and then for sentence patterns, do students write the repetitive constant part of the sentence each time, or do they just add the missing part of the pattern?
We had them write the whole thing. And so that, again, the sequential nature of a sentence, it's the whole, it is the whole big idea. And so you'd adjust, you could keep the same patterns we used, adjust them to the words that students can decode, because these would be the ones I gave you, very appropriate for students that have had good instruction in 1st and 2nd grade, but you might have to adjust the actual words utilized, but the same patterns to fit their decoding level.
All right, and we have, how do you use, does it make sense when you are working with beginning to intermediate level English learners?
More difficult, because that is the whole purpose. The whole problem is it doesn't make sense necessarily.
Mhm.
But you can teach them that on simplistic levels. So let's say they can read, the cat is on the mat, okay? And they read, the cat is on the mitt. And you tell them, you said mitt, and the word was mat. And so a mitt goes on your hand. Does the cat go on your hand? No. So the word is mat, which is like a rug. Point to the rug. So the cat was on the mat. Does that make sense? So you could definitely teach them make sense. You would just have to ensure that you're supporting by giving them little definitions of unknown words, which we call fast mapping. So if you have a question, let me just get this back up so I can see you. Somehow I lost my friends and I want you back. There you are. If you have a question and you want to raise your hand, Tiffany, you'll watch those hands go up and I'll be glad to answer them.
Perfect.
Well, raise your hand, first of all, if there was anything here that was a takeaway. Raise your hand if you had a takeaway that you could use. Because if you don't, I'm here till 10. Okay, so, but I would like you, just for our own feedback, if you would put in the chat box, which you say, oh, I really like the idea of visual feedback on spelling. Oh, I could utilize that activity, unscrambling the words to teach them syntax and word order will be perfect for my students. Or sentence expansion, answering questions like when and where and why, that would be useful. And so put in the chat box what you thought was useful that you could utilize. We'll give you a moment before I go to read them. Catherine, do I see a Christmas tree behind you? Yes. Oh, keep
Yes, it's a Christmas tree where I decorate it for the students for different seasons. So
All right.
it's my spring tree.
It's a spring tree. All right. Wonderful, Catherine. I mean, isn't it just delightful to see all of these educators
It is.
from different places? It's just a total blessing. I hope that the administrators continue to do this because it is just totally delightful. Okay, did you see any more? Well, let's pop up here and read some of your ideas in terms of what was useful, which also gives us a little review. And so unscrabbling the words, every day in every class, we read, rewrite, and speak. And that is a great motto. And your examples of creating sentences with the same pattern will be one that you can use. And every day in every class, we read, rewrite, we speak. So many ideas. I hope I didn't cover too much, but I know that you have lots of background knowledge to fit this into. The unscrambling activity, one of my favorites. I can't wait to use the sentence patterns over the many days. You can start them tomorrow. And getting Writing Revolution and celebrating just the quality of that book. Excellent. And let's see if I can go up this way. There we go. Well, come on. It just isn't letting me. Well, it's probably me. Haven't you figured out that everything that's wrong with your actual, there we go. Come on. It was a great event. Thank you. And thank you for being here. It was a total delight for me to do this. I am so thankful that my friends from Wichita asked me, and maybe I'll come back another time just because it is so useful to see people from all over. So thank you, thank you. And I guess that we will say good night, because for some of you, it is definitely night. So our administrative team, did you have anything that you wanted to say as we finish this up?
We want to thank you, Dr. Archer. We have a t-shirt for you from our group that says Kansas Science of Reading. So
Kansas Science of Reading, but now, you know, it wasn't just Kansas. No, we had
this is true.
Missouri and Illinois and Massachusetts. We had Honduras. We had Pennsylvania. We had Florida. We had New York, the Bronx. We had Little Rock, and so much more.
So exciting.
But all on the same mission.
Don't forget Texas.
Mission to use Science of Reading to guide us to be certain that we have the optimum reading programs in our school sites for students that are tier 1, students that are tier 2, students that are tier 3 in special ed, because everyone deserves this skill, this life skill of being able to read and write. So thank you for being with us. It was a total delight to me. And maybe we'll see each other again. Thank you, Kansas administrative team.